politically correct for the holidays? Are Alberta public schools canceling Christmas?
Good evening and welcome to Alberta Prime Time. I'm Jennifer Martin.
And I'm Michael Higgins. In an effort to be politically correct, some Alberta schools are taking Christmas out of the holidays.
Is it sensitive and inclusive or unfair and inappropriate? Christmas concert or festive assembly? That debate in a moment.
As well, Dr. Raj Sherman is here in studio for the first of our year-end interviews with Alberta's opposition leaders.
An election is looming in Alberta, and our Tuesday Politics panel debates the sway of polls. How seriously should we take them?
But first, politically correct Christmas. That's where Alberta Prime Time begins tonight.
Christmas is a religious holiday, and that has turned age-old traditions into new dilemmas for Alberta public schools trying to respect a variety of faiths and cultures. Some still have Christmas assemblies, others no longer mark any religious occasions and hold generic events throughout winter. Many school boards believe not including religious concepts in festive events makes the holiday season inclusive for all. Critics argue being non-denominational can actually undermine being multicultural. Are traditional Christmas events fading away or returning? How should Alberta public schools celebrate religious holidays?
And Christmas is a big one. Along with us tonight, Tim Pateco, District Music Consultant with Edmonton's Public School Board. Irving Hexham is a Professor of Religious Studies at the University of Calgary. Thank you both for being here and welcome to Alberta Prime Time.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Irving, religion and culture are intertwined. By not observing Christmas in schools, are we watering down multiculturalism? Is that okay or not?
Well, I think we are, in fact. People make the argument that because we're multicultural, we ought not to celebrate things like Christmas. But in fact, I think the real argument is that one should celebrate, and one should, in schools at least, explain the religious holidays of all cultural groups so that children understand what something like Diwali is, they understand about Ramadan, they understand about Christmas. And since the majority of the population come from a Christian Western background, or even sort of many people who come not from Western societies but from places like China and a lot, surprisingly, from the Middle East come from Christian backgrounds, then I think we should celebrate Christmas because it's part of the historical, cultural heritage of Canada.
Tim, what are schools doing that you see? Are they choosing to observe big religious events, some, all, none at all? Are they keeping it generic? Where are the trends in Alberta? Have they been and are now?
Well, in Edmonton Public Schools, it's really diverse because each school makes the decision as to what they're going to be doing at the Christmas time. Some schools celebrate Christmas concerts and celebrate Christmas. Some of our schools do more diverse celebrations where they celebrate a variety of holidays or religious celebrations and talk to the students about that. So it really depends on what the students are doing.
Okay, I want to ask if you can answer this, and maybe we have to go to Irving, but if we don't observe Christmas with public school students, is there a danger that we don't learn or respect others' religious holidays or cultures, that we only celebrate things that we have in common, that someone else's traditions might not be acceptable? Is there that danger in educators' minds?
I'm not sure if we're facing that danger because I would say the majority of our schools do celebrate Christmas to a certain extent. They still do either caroling or they have a Christmas concert. They might not go as far as the traditional Christ version of Christmas, but they try to incorporate a portion of it. So I'm not sure if that is a real danger.
Irving, what do you think? Is the watering down a problem? Does it send the wrong message if and when it happens?
Well, I think it is, and I think it's picking up on an American theme that started about 40 or 50 years ago. Interestingly, the American pragmatic philosopher Sidney Hook, who was a secular Jew, wrote a book on religion complaining bitterly that Christmas was being taken out of schools and that kids weren't allowed to sing carols. And he really disliked this because he said it's really treating kids as though they can't make distinctions about religion, and one should expose them to the culture and to the cultural heritage, because there's so much connected with Christmas. One's simply got to think of the Messiah, of great works of art. All of these things are part of Christmas, and what we're doing is in many cases substituting things like Walt Disney and pure crass commercialism.
We asked Albertans if they feel that Alberta public schools have become too politically correct when it comes to observing Christmas. And here's what some people had to say in our informal outing.
Absolutely. I think Christmas is Christmas, and it should be what it is. That's what it started out to be, and that's what it still should be.
I believe that when we start to take into account everybody, then we stand for nothing. And so I think we need to kind of honor our own beliefs as well in terms of what the majority here is in Canada.
All the public schools right now, all they're doing is just worried about keeping people happy and people from other places and stuff like that. Even though my religion is not Christian, and I still celebrate Christmas as a fun thing to do, to give gifts to people, and it's just something to do while you're here, while you're in this country, you know?
Absolutely. I definitely feel like there should be a little bit more sense of culture here.
Tim, do you ever get negative reaction from people who don't observe Christmas? Do schools ever receive negative feedback from those who don't want it in the school?
We do have some parents or some children who do not participate in Christmas concerts for various reasons, whether it be religious reasons or just time reasons. And so those students just choose not to participate, and their parents just pull them out. We do have some that go the other way, though, where there's not enough Christmas, and so as the schools we try to accommodate a variety of religions and people and sort of find a middle ground almost, although it depends on the school again.
Right.
There are certain schools that really do celebrate Christmas in a big way, and it's very few of our schools that actually try not to do much around Christmas.
So
I think it's worth pointing out that on the whole, most Hindus and Buddhists and many Muslims, some Muslims would object to Christmas, but the vast majority don't, all enjoy Christmas. And the people who really object are a small group of Western secularists who, for some reason or other, have developed a dislike of Christmas, and they think that it's somehow forcing religion down people's throats without really recognizing the historical significance and cultural value of Christmas.
Because we've had this similar debate about the Lord's Prayer. Irving, is that a separate issue?
Yeah, I think the Lord's Prayer is a separate issue because it's very definitely a Christian thing that everyone, I mean, if you're praying, and some people don't believe in praying and things like that. It's a religious practice, whereas Christmas is much more of a cultural connotation, and children need to know the history of Christianity as they need to know the history of Buddhism and Hinduism, Islam, the major world religions. This is part of a shared heritage that has interacted with different groups through the centuries. I mean, Christians and Muslims have had long eras of contact. So have Buddhists and Hindus and others. And we're pretending that sort of everything, we're living in a new world where we keep everything in a sort of cultural apartheid.
There can be a difference, I suppose, between a lesson and observing as a participant. Tim, why do you think that the political correctness has taken place? How much has demographics had to do with it? Is it just a new social reality? Is it a legal issue?
I don't think it's a legal issue at all. I think it's the changing face of our schools, where we have a more diverse population, a lot of immigrant and a variety of immigrant populations coming to Edmonton, and it's changing the face of our schools, and it's just trying to honor those students, as well as honor our own traditions, our Canadian Christian traditions as well.
Irving, is it demographics?
Yeah, I think the demographics is tricky. Reg Bibby down in Lethbridge has done a lot of research on this and shown that in actual fact the demographics have hardly changed over the last 100 years or so. There is a slight change, but it's very small in reality. What's happened in Britain, where you have large numbers of immigrants, is interesting because there they've more or less banned Christmas for about 20 years in schools, and at last they brought it back. And this has been to a large extent as a result of pressure from immigrant groups. People have wanted to celebrate Christmas, and Christmas carols are something people love, whether or not they're Christian.
Tim, how much do people, if they object, certainly you mentioned they can pull their child from a Christmas concert or any other kind of religious lesson or observation, how often do parents do more than grumble? Is there a formal complaint system or just conversations with principals? How does that seem to unfold in Alberta?
It's strictly conversations with principals. I mean, I guess it could be taken to the board level, but I haven't really heard of anything like that where parents have complained to the school board about it. It's just a conversation with the principal.
Do you think what's driving this mostly? Is it the school's eagerness to be sensitive, or is it the population pushing one way or the other?
I think it really depends on the school. There are certain schools who have just chosen to become a little bit more sensitive to the population they're working with. Mm-hmm. And there's some schools who have decided that tradition is also very important and they want to continue those traditions. And so it really depends on the schools and the principals and the teachers and how they converse with their parents and their students.
I think here, one of the things that we need to bring in is, if we talk about sensitivity, we really do need to bring in information, at least, and to teach children about other cultural traditions, about other religious beliefs, and to expose them to a much wider variety of ideas than we do at present. We tend to replace sort of Christmas and a Christian heritage with a sort of almost empty secular heritage. Whereas the kids in school come from all sorts of religious traditions, and they usually get on quite well together and like to share those traditions. And it doesn't mean that they're going to convert to being a Hindu or a Buddhist or a Christian or a Jew or whatever. It means that they're going to live together and understand each other. And so schools should be teaching religion in schools. I mean, not making people religious, but teaching people about religion and cultural differences and values.
Great to have both of your thoughts on this perennial hot topic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tim Paetko is District Music Consultant for the Edmonton Public School Board, and Irving Hexham is a Professor of Religious Studies at the University of Calgary. We always like to hear your opinions. You can phone us or reach us online to share your thoughts. Just follow the contact links at albertaprimetime.com. And we're back with more in 60 seconds.